Hello and welcome back to Reality Check. Thank you for joining us this week yet again for another conversation that we hope will enable you take better care of your mental health. If you're new here, we're a mental health channel, podcast, YouTube channel, and we have conversations on mental health in the areas of marriage, family, relationships, and the workplace. So if that's something that you think you could benefit from and your community, please consider subscribing and give this episode a thumbs up. Of course, leave us a comment because we love hearing your feedback. Welcome once again. I'm joined by Dr. Eva Satwine, who is someone that I do this show with. I have conversations with her from time to time. And other times we have other people come onto the show like we are doing today. And today it's none other than Mr. Samuel Bakutana.
Yes.
Yeah, again, not an unfamiliar face. Yeah,
Most
many
likely.
of you, most likely.
Most likely.
Yes, many of you know him. You've interacted with him in, I guess, inspirational spaces. Is that the way I'd put it?
Yes, inspirational spaces, but
Yeah.
largely leadership development spaces.
Leadership development.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you are the CEO, among many other things, of Inspired Leaders International.
Yes, I am.
Could you just tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
I am a disciple of Christ Jesus. I'm the CEO of Inspired Leaders International, where we empower leaders to transform nations.
Okay.
Professionally, I am a certified executive coach. I am an award-winning leadership consultant. I'm a facilitator. I belong to the International Association of Facilitators, which I lead in Uganda as the national chair. I am a member of the International Coaching Federation. I sit on the strategy committee. And I am the national president of Fathers Union in Uganda. A married man to Miss Universe, the queen of my heart, Honorable Charity, my watermelon, blessed with 2 children, a boy and a girl, Petra and Prosper. And today is Petra's 15th birthday.
Wow.
I am an author of 26 books in the areas of leadership, business, education, relationships, wealth building, family, marriage, parenting, to mention but a few. And it's a pleasure to be here on this show.
Thank you. Thank you, Samuel, for being here.
My pleasure.
You came along with some of your books.
Yes.
We'll definitely get into those
Okay.
maybe later on in the show. Just to let you know, so we are at Suma Coffee House. I tell you, if you are in the area of Kamocha, Acacia, wherever, and you're just looking for a space to come and work and also eat some healthy meals, some healthy juices, and take advantage of the supplements that are available for better health, Suma Coffee House and Wellness Center is the place to be. It's in Kamocha, just opposite Acacia Mall at Total Energies. So once you drive in, you can, fuel up and then come up for some coffee and have a wonderful time here at Suma Coffee House. So we'll get into these supplements, but if you are interested in taking better care of your health, there's all sorts of supplements available. Those of you that are looking to reduce your weight, there's one here called Exlim. And then for
That must be very famous.
I'm
Because
sure
when it
it
comes
is.
to reducing weight,
Tummy weight. Yes. The women maybe would be more interested in this one.
interestingly, the men too. These
Even
days.
the men? Yeah, I can speak for my husband. Parents, vitamin C, my goodness, coughs and flus are on the rise.
Yeah.
As long as it's school season, you can rest assured that that's going to happen. So vitamin C for your children. This one is called Refined Yunzi Essence. If you're dealing with wounds that are not healing, those of you maybe that are on chemotherapy and you need some boost, this would be a good option for you. And then Prostate Relax, the men, those of you that are struggling with your prostate enlarging, I hear that that's also on the rise.
Yeah.
This would be a good option for you. And then Youth Ever, if you want to look young and youthful, this is one of those options for you, a wide variety of supplements. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about polygamous marriages and situations and how those could potentially affect one's mental health. Yeah. And in order for us to have a balanced conversation, I think it was necessary for a gentleman to be in the room. And we want to discuss
If you don't mind, you say a monogamous gentleman to be
A
around
monogamous gentleman.
who came from a polygamous family. So I think that
okay.
that could be some good qualification for me to be
like,
around here.
because I was going to say you're qualified, yes, to be here because you're a man, but I like the extra layer.
A monogamous man who came from a polygamous family.
Yes, I was actually going to say none of us here are in a polygamous situation, but I like that you have that background.
Yes,
That's why we thought we could have the men.
All right. So welcome, Sam. Welcome,
Thank you very much.
Dr. Evers.
Yeah.
Let's get into our conversation today. So maybe for purposes of the discussion, can we describe the different polygamous situations that we see in our country and maybe beyond? Because there's the ones that are acceptable, quote unquote, like our Muslim brothers and sisters. And then there are those that are cultural. So let's maybe describe what we are seeing. Our guest first.
All right. You know, the gentleman in me was saying ladies first.
No.
So different situations. We always hear the word polygamy, and that's all we usually hear about and talk about. But polygamy comes in different forms, in different parts of the world. And as a result, there are other poly things. Like I say, polygamy. So there are other poly things that come under polygamy. And I will tell you some of them that I came across. For example, there is something called polygyny.
Okay.
Now, polygyny is the usual one, the one we often know, the one man married to multiple women.
Okay.
That's actually polygamy, which specifically is called polygyny. It can be cultural, it can be Islamic, for example, like you talked about religion. Then there is another one called polyandry. We usually don't hear it.
No.
Now, polyandry is a polygamous arrangement whereby you have one woman married to multiple men. It is so rare, but that's the situation.
Okay.
So it's a polygamous arrangement,
Yeah.
but specifically it's called polyandry, where now you have one woman married to
Married
multiple
or in
men.
a relationship with multiple men?
Dr. Evers will tell you, I choose my words carefully.
Okay. No problem. Carry on.
And the most recent one, I saw it in Kenya. It was all over on the news on NTV Kenya and some other places. Yeah, where this one woman said, I have my 3 men, they're my husbands.
They were there.
Yes, they were there.
They were there.
She showed them off.
Yes, she did. And they
More
were,
grace
they
to
were
her.
happy to parade themselves. So that's one situation. So besides polygyny, where you have one man marrying multiple women, you also have polyandry, where you have one woman marrying multiple men. But also we have polyamory. Now with polyamory, it is consensual, non-monogamous arrangement among multiple adults.
Okay.
It can really cause some confusion when you come to
I'm already confused.
Say that again.
Polyamory is where you have consensual, that's a key word in this statement, consensual, non-monogamous arrangement among multiple adults.
Okay.
So let me paint a picture for you to get it quick and better, in a simpler way. So you have Evers, you have Rachel, you have Samuel, you have Dixon, you have Jane, and you have James. Okay? So amongst themselves, they agree that they are married to each other, all of them.
Okay.
So I can go to Evers,
Yeah.
and I go to Rachel, I go to Jane. Meanwhile, Jane is coming to James, to
Dixon,
Samuel,
yeah.
and Dixon, and we all know and we are okay.
We're
with it.
okay with it. Okay. Okay.
You know why I'm shaking my head? One time I was on a plane, and I rarely watch those movies, but I picked on one, and I think maybe you've seen it. Women, wife swapping.
Ah, yes. I think it's like a TV show.
Yes, it's a movie, and when I watched it, I saw the chaos.
Yeah.
Now, what Sam is describing, I can't even imagine.
Chaotic.
I can't wrap my head
Around
around the
it.
amount of chaos in that kind of life. But anyway, we'll continue.
That's life.
It is.
Yeah.
Now, there is another one that I would generally call serial polygamy.
Okay.
Serial, like you hear a serial killer,
Yeah.
serial thief.
Yeah.
So there is a serial polygamist.
polygamy.
Now, in the serial polygamous arrangement, this is where you have someone who marries multiple times often
Okay.
due to divorce or death of a spouse.
Okay.
So you have a certain Jane, Jane dies, you marry Sharon, Sharon divorces, you marry
Rebecca.
so you marry Rebecca, Rebecca separates, then you marry
someone else.
yes.
So that's
So
a polygamous situation.
it is serial polygamy.
Serial polygamy. Okay.
Many people may not see it as polygamy, but it is. It is. There is another instance, another situation of polygamy. For lack of a better word, I would just call it modern polygamy.
Okay.
Now, with modern polygamy, it is consensual, non-monogamy arrangement, especially in urban centers.
Okay.
Consensual, non-monogamy. In a sense of, I am married to my dear wife Charity, then we agree that, I mean, whenever you want to move out and have somebody else, please feel free.
You can.
Yes,
Okay.
and she also say, yeah, even you, whenever you need some balanced diet. That's what somebody called it. Yeah, feel free.
Feel free.
Then in the evening, just as long as we come back together here, we are married. So they agree like that. I met one, I was shocked.
Yeah.
But that's a polygamous arrangement. So
Okay. Okay.
now, having said that, by talking about these situations, let me put a little twist. There are those who are polygamous because they went out to become polygamous. So that's one situation. So now I'm talking about polygamous situations based on how they come to be.
Okay.
The second situation is whereby somebody goes out cheating and then the woman turns into the wife and she can go nowhere and the man becomes polygamous circumstantially.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there are those who separate with their wives and they remarry, and after remarrying, the first woman returns to reconcile and the man welcomes him back.
Back.
He becomes polygamous. So there are many different situations around this issue of polygamy. That's what I can say for now.
Wow. Okay. I want to follow up on something you just said. In most of your definitions and descriptions of monogamy, you kept saying consensual.
Yeah.
I think you kind of qualified it when you talked about the man who becomes polygamous, not because he set out to be polygamous,
Yes.
but the situation happened.
Yeah.
Where do scenarios like a man who has someone on the side, it's not consensual because his wife does not agree.
Yeah.
And even when you say consensual, I'm like, there are women who are, I don't think they agree because they want to. I think the agreement is because...
We don't know.
We do.
So we can't go there. We can't say they agreed because or they agreed because not. We don't know. But the
It
point
is
is they agreed.
consensual.
So
Okay.
if they agreed, it's
Under
consensual.
duress.
If they did we don't know. If they did accept, then it's non-consensual.
Okay. Because
The situations under which they agreed, we don't know.
okay. But we can speculate.
We can speculate
Okay.
definitely.
I-
Like you have brought in the issue of being pushed.
Yes,
You know.
yes. No, I was
But
going
like-
to ask about the man who has somebody on the side without the wife consenting, so to
Okay.
speak.
Could we also say without the wife knowing or the wife knows?
Even
but
without the wife, she knows,
okay.
but she has nothing.
That one
to
is
do
just
about
a cheat. That one
it.
is cheating.
It's not polygamous.
Well, you know, somehow practically it's polygamous
It
in a
is,
sense.
yeah.
But then officially it's not polygamous. It's just a
Officially.
guy cheating who is unfaithful.
Okay.
It's just some unfaithful cheat.
Okay. Okay. It's making some sense to me, Dr. Evers.
Yeah.
Your
It
turn.
is that difficult.
It's really,
It's hard to understand.
yeah.
Yeah, so for me, I'll take it back to the foundations of relationships. And I think I've made that statement here several times, that in this world where we live, no one wants to share. Essentially, no one wants to share a partner.
Of course,
No.
essentially.
No one.
No one.
So I'll speak from a psychology standpoint that when we share our lives with someone, we want that person to be ours.
Exclusively.
Exclusively. Now, there is a reason why then God in his wisdom said one woman, one man. One man, one woman, right? One man,
Some
one
people
woman.
have claimed it's not in the Bible.
Well, so we'll see. But you see, the Creator knew how He created us, and He knew that we desire exclusivity in intimate relationships. Period. Like period. How we get creative?
That's a whole
That's
other
a whole
thing.
other thing. But essentially, each human being, even the greatest dramatic cheat, wants to have
The most faithful
the most
one,
faithful
wife,
partner,
husband.
which is so
It's ironic.
ironical.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, so we need to know, and honestly, the reason we are having this conversation is that some of the things have happened. And again, the work that I do, I realize that sometimes we jump onto things, but we haven't really given it sufficient time to critique, to evaluate whether they are helpful to us or not. Now, for instance, the scenario you are explaining about consent, I don't know, God knows what that name is. Like people are consenting. So now today I'm with Sam, another day I'm with Salongo, another day I'm with someone else. Like, how much chaos do you have to deal with? Like on
It's a lot of
daily?
chaos. It's a lot of chaos.
So God, Boris once again said, when God put his order in place, it was meant to protect us, not to deprive us.
That's true. Yeah.
You see, when he said, man, marry one woman, he knew that you needed peace. Now, at the same time, in the midst of all the drama that we are causing, we are looking for peace.
Yeah.
So how does that peace look like? Now, the reason we are doing this session is so people will be able, all of us as human beings, will be able to evaluate our choices. So when you choose to go polygamy, just know what you're signing up for.
Yeah, you know what you're signing up for.
It is so important.
Yes.
So then you don't say, oh, I need peace. So, and I'm going to talk about that, Rachel. Because every human action is motivated and justified by something.
That's true.
Say that again.
Every human behavior is motivated and justified by something. Whether it is an authentic justification or not, there is something behind it. I remember when we had a gas station here called Caltex.
Yes.
They had an advert that I've never forgotten. They would say, what drives you? What drives you?
Yes.
And essentially, they were promoting their products and saying,
fuel.
our fuel is really good, it drives you well. Now, we all as human beings, we need to know what drives our choices, what drives our behavior. So it isn't like, oh, you know, I don't even know what I'm doing. No, there is something that drives you. And I like that, Sam, you took time to explain, you know, how people get together and all. And then you stopped at a point where we said, we don't know whether people consent or not, but me, I'll tell you.
Tell us.
I'll tell you what. The spirit behind multiple partners is a spirit of selfishness.
I agree.
You see,
I agree.
it is that spirit of selfishness. It is, I need more. And when I was studying relational science, I learned that all human nature is self-centered, essentially.
It needs a redeemer.
It needs a redeemer. That's why we need a redeemer. So if we were given a chance, we would have all this. I would have this to me, to myself. I'll have this 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 to myself.
Allow me say, if it wasn't that, for example, Christianity says marry one wife, I want to suspect even many of us Christians would be very polygamous.
You have seen it.
Okay?
Absolutely.
You have seen it.
Yeah.
I want to believe that many of us are stopped by the religious
values.
belief.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Because you see, when we talk about religious belief, all these things are coming to us to help us control our selfish nature.
Yes.
I do personal coaching, and I tell people the biggest skill we need is self-regulation.
Yeah. Speed governor.
That's true.
Self-regulation protects us. If we didn't have self-regulation, we would kill, we would steal, we would do all manner of things. But because you regulate yourself, and this is a brain issue. Why is it a brain issue? Is that you're able to say, if I do this, this is what is going to come out.
Consequences.
But what happens when we have what we call social green lights? Oh, this is, you can do this, and then you feel a little less guilty, so you go after
You're not the only one doing this.
You see that? So the spirit, let me go back to my point. The spirit behind some of these practices, we need to critique them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where is it coming from? Who started it? Who started it?
What's the world
I'm
view?
on record, Rachel. When we had conversations around these women emancipations, I was also encouraging ladies, please don't just jump on bandwagons. Ask yourself, who started this? What were they going? What was their emotional posture? You see, this thing that was started, could it have come out of some angry woman or some, like, where was this coming from?
Yeah.
Even with this morning as I drove, I was reflecting on the topic we're going to discuss, and I thought, how many of us really go a step below to ask ourselves, by the way, who started this? Where did it come from? What do? We say, well, no, everyone is doing it. Or everyone is doing it. Even in this culture, you see, it is, it's a divine, mindset. It's a divine thing. You see, no, sit back, ask yourself, where does this come from? Now, I know, for instance, that all policy, because I've had people, I was hoping that we could host a Muslim brother to try and understand certain things. But you see, even in all documented policy, every policy is always responding to a need. Every policy item is ever responding to a need. Now, I've had
creating environment for a certain agenda. Sometimes
100%.
there is no need, but there is an agenda.
Yes.
True.
You see? Now, when we ask ourselves, because I've talked to again, I meet so many of my brothers in counseling rooms and who say, but everyone is there, but my father was there, but did we grow, but did we do? And I ask themselves, so what exactly was the need? What was the need? Now, I'll give you an example. I ever, not in a council, I've ever talked to a brother who was really, really stuck. Muslim, happily married, both of them professionals. They had agreed that for us, even when religion allows, for us, we are going to have a monogamous marriage.
I know many of them.
They had their children, very happy family, and all. But for some reason, my brother
changed his mind.
What Sam was talking about, circumstantial. He's working somewhere and he picks a colleague. Now remember, when you're going against your standard or your values, you're going to have something that reduces your guilt, right? A justification. So it's like, I know that I agreed with my wife, but religion allows us.
I am a Muslim.
I'm Muslim.
It's not so bad.
It's not so bad.
It's not bad at all.
And you see, I know a little bit about how Muslims are supposed to do that. When you are going to have another wife, you have to get consent from the first wife, right? You have to get consent, and you have to have a justification. So you can come and say, you know what, Yves, you see, you stopped looking nice because you've turned 50. And me, I need someone to warm me up.
And by the way, in the Quran, that's acceptable. That reason is there.
Imagine.
Really?
So
I'm telling you,
the
the
thing
looks.
is, so what is this feeding? It's feeding the spirit of selfishness. Now, so anyhow, he picks this lady and he hides it.
Oh dear.
So because he had no justification, he had nothing to tell the wife, because according in his words, he said, my wife is like the best wife in the whole world. So I'm asking him, then how did you end up here? Yeah. So what were you looking for? He goes, But you see, religion allows us. Now, why I'm telling you this is that when we are discussing this, I would really want to emphasize we need to critique where these things are coming from. Who wrote it? Who started it? What need were they addressing? And in a while, I'll talk about how men are perceived to be, like people who can't control themselves, who have no nothing. That's not true. Men are normal. Men can control themselves. Men can think.
Yeah.
But men have been set up by some of these things that seem to justify. So I don't know whether I've said so much, Rachel.
But you've set the stage for my next question.
Yes.
I like the point you've ended on. It's almost like men have been set up to fail. Yeah, and this narrative that because you can't control yourselves, even for the one who can control himself and is, they lean into the narrative that, but I'm allowed. There's some invisible permission out there, So I want us, and I'm glad that you have the background of polygamy.
Yes, I do.
So that gives credibility to this
do.
conversation. What did you see growing up? I guess what do these scenarios look like? Because on the outside, it seems like somebody has the power to have more than one spouse. They can pick and choose as they want, whether there is consent or not. We've said we don't know how the consent happens. But what are some of the effects that come from these kind of situations? Again, to paint a picture for those who are looking from the outside in, to say that while it may look normal.
Yes.
What goes on in families like that, and what are the effects that maybe you experienced or that you have had other people experience? So children, all the stakeholders, children, the wives, the husband.
Yeah. And I'm glad you're saying that last statement because it has psychological, mental health effects on the woman, on the man, and the children.
Even the one who was chosen. The one who was chosen.
I'm telling you.
I tell you what.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
please go ahead.
Interestingly, on that point, when I was studying about this, every write-up is talking about the effect of polygamy on women and children, and they don't mention men. I've seen men dying.
Yes. And for that matter, let me segment it. Let me talk about the women, the men, and the children. Because they are affected differently. They have some areas of intersection where the effect is the same, but they have separate ways how they are affected. Let's begin with the women. Polygamy has a huge effect on the women. To begin with, low self-esteem. Low self-esteem.
100%.
Because this woman feels inferior, feels less valued, feels inadequate. Because she starts to think, if I were adequate, my husband would have looked for another one. I would be, for lack of a better word, let me use the word satisfy. I would have satisfied his needs that he has from a woman on earth. So it lowers the esteem of the woman. Secondly is jealousy.
Absolutely.
My friend, competition comes up. Competition comes up among the co-wives, and that brings more stress and anxiety on the lady. I wrote about it in my book here, Busy and Loving It, the blue one. This one here, Busy and Loving It. It's about enjoying a happy life amidst stressful situations. So I talked about the stressful situations, and this was one of them that I highlighted, relational stress. I call it relational stress that comes from instances like this. So that jealousy, it brings competition like you have never seen. I saw this in our own home. My dad was polygamous. My mom was a second wife.
That.
Oh my goodness.
Some details are not
to be shared. Yes.
I know.
I saw it firsthand. The other thing I saw firsthand that is an impact on the women is emotional distress. Polygamy brings emotional distress on the woman due to lack of exclusive attention from the husband. Dr. Eva said it rightly at the start. Love was essentially not meant to be shared. The romantic eros love. It was essentially supposed to be exclusive. So whenever it's not exclusively given or exclusively received, there is emotional turbulence. There is emotional turbulence. I was in a plane recently and there was
turbulence.
It was tough as we were landing at Addis. It was, so that happens emotionally in a woman's heart, where you have polygamy. And then the other effect is loss of autonomy.
Yeah.
Because in a monogamous arrangement, there is unlimited decision-making power in household matters. You are the woman of the house. So you make decisions about the meals of the house, about many other things. You sit together with your husband. You have this autonomy as the one wife in this home. But now when the second one and the third one come in, then there is a loss of autonomy.
Yeah.
But also financial insecurity comes in. Financial insecurity in the sense of you now have shared financial resources. They go this side, they go that side. And I remember in our home what happened in our polygamous home. Sometimes you would lack some things and you think they have gone the other side. And then the other side, they are also lacking the same things. They think they have come this side. So you hate each other, yet the things went nowhere. They were simply not available.
Oh my goodness.
The resources.
Yeah.
So there is that, the financial insecurity.
Yeah, yeah.
The woman is not sure whether she's going to be financially safe tomorrow. It's a big thing. But also there is social isolation, especially from the religious angle. You find that in some religious circles, like in the Christian circles, they say it's monogamous, marriage is monogamous. So if you are a polygamous, if you are in a polygamous relationship, when you come around, some people may view you in a way that you may feel isolated.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
Stigma.
Yeah. You come, I mean, I am the national president of Fathers Union. You come to Fathers Union, they tell you one of the requirements for joining is that you are a monogamous man, married, wedded in a church.
In a church. Wow.
Same thing with things like Mothers Union and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's social isolation. And even trust erosion. We used to talk of soil erosion in primary school.
Soil erosion.
Hey, but there are many other things that get eroded.
Yeah.
In a polygamous arrangement, trust goes. Trust is eroded. Because this lady is asking herself, what else won't he do if he has done this? What else won't he do? And as a result of all this, then you have mental health issues. There are higher rates of depression and anxiety.
Naturally.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's on the side of the woman. But the man is equally impacted, whether he knows it or not.
not. Yeah.
I again saw it in our own home. I again saw it. And one of the things that I saw was emotional overload
Yeah.
on the side of my dad.
Thank you for saying that.
Emotional overload. I mean, having to manage multiple wives, it's really a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
I have my Miss Universe, queen of my heart, Charity, my beautiful watermelon.
You're one.
Way, but man, I put in effort to ensure that things.
And it keeps you on your toes.
My friend.
Imagine having
So
two
now
extra
if you
ones.
have three,
Oh Lord.
there is emotional overload on a man. And secondly, there is a financial stress on the man. Serious financial stress. Because you have to support multiple wives, you have to support multiple children that have come out of these relationships. The bill increases tremendously. And each of these wives is asking
For
different things,
things, yeah.
at different levels,
Yeah.
different times,
Because we are different.
because they are different.
Yeah.
They have different likes, different
Needs.
preferences,
Yes.
different needs,
Yeah.
different tastes.
Absolutely.
So there is a financial stress, like you, let them not, there is a financial stress on a polygamous man.
Yeah.
Even if he is wealthy, finally he feels the strain.
That's true.
And thirdly is social judgment. That's something that men who are in polygamous environments face. So they face criticism from monogamous communities. And you will realize monogamous communities are the majority.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah. Polygamous relationships are in the minority. Monogamous relationships are the majority world over.
Yeah.
So there is that social judgment from majority monogamous communities. Besides that, there is a challenge on the man concerning relationship management. Relationship management. Because there is a difficulty trying to balance the emotional connections and the intimacy with multiple partners. Oh my, it's like you are on a chessboard. You're moving pieces, or you're playing draft. You have to move this piece, and then this wife may move the other piece. Before this wife moves this piece, I need to move this one.
Oh my goodness.
Relationship management in the life of a polygamous man.
Yeah.
It is tough.
Yeah.
But besides all this, there is guilt. And the guilt comes in because this man has this feeling of responsibility for potential emotional harm or even inequality among the wives. You've put 100,000 shillings this side, you put some 300,000 this side, but somehow in your mind this one needed more, this one needed less, but maybe because this one was nagging, this one was silent. Guilt. Feeling responsible for potential harm that you are causing, not only to the wives, but also the children.
To the children, yeah.
Now, let me first pause here.
And to yourself.
To yourself, yeah.
Let me pause here and throw the spanner in the works a little bit. Let me open some Pandora box.
Sure.
I did not have the opportunity to ask my dad why he was in a polygamous relationship.
Is he still alive?
After all, he died when I was 12 years of age.
Yeah.
Grew up without a dad. But there are a few men I've talked with that are in polygamous arrangements, and they claim that they actually benefits.
Before you throw the spanner in the works, I had a burning follow-up question. Because you were talking about all these cons, and I was like, don't they feel... Because why do we have more and more men choosing, even though they're still the minority? They must be feeling like the benefits outweigh the negatives. And I'm curious to hear.
You're curious.
How could you possibly benefit from a polygamous situation, So please go ahead.
A number of them are basically temporary benefits. In fact, many of them are temporary benefits. In my view, many of them are temporary benefits. In the long term, the harm outweighs the help, outweighs the good. I was in a conversation related to this recently, and I learned a new terminology I didn't know until just last month. Somebody used the word panado in a different arrangement. Context. So I was talking and I said, those who have side dishes, and then a man quickly said, panado. So I quickly picked on it. I have a knack for picking on audience responses when I'm sharing, when I'm speaking. For audience engagement, but also to really pick on what is going on. So I quickly picked on that. I said, oh, bro, what do you mean?
What do you mean?
Yeah. Sometimes you have this headache at home with your wife. So you go out look for some Panadol. So that was the context that he used. And I want to believe that that's one of the supposed benefits. That maybe sometimes, not all the time, sometimes this man has a hair in his own home, in his own marriage, where he is not respected, not honored, he is treated like trash. So now he goes out there and he meets this girl or this woman who gives him some temporary relief.
And treats him like a king and respects him.
And so he gets a crown and puts it on
her head.
The crown that belongs to the woman at home.
Which can I say might put this other wife in line?
I don't know.
Because you remember you talked about competition entering, because now she has to strive to please him. So it's either that or she becomes even more bitter. So I think
that's why I said it's temporary, because you need a partner when you talk about painkiller. A painkiller is not a cure of a disease.
No.
Come to think about it.
It cures a symptom.
It doesn't even cure a symptom.
It relieves.
It reduces a bit only to get it. You would rather look for the real medicine for the disease.
That's true.
Than just being on painkillers and painkillers. The other thing that you hear some people claim is a benefit is a sense of community, in a sense that there is shared responsibilities and social support among co-wives when they are peaceful. Because they are polygamous arrangements where women are actually peaceful.
Is that so? Okay.
Yes. You find there is a harmony. You see them. You see the women working together. You get amazed.
You see.
You
You see. And now that it is you see.
You see.
Also, don't assume the negative.
That's the thing.
Yes.
Okay, sure. But you see, we just have to go back to our fundamental nature. We all agree that intimate relationships, I go back to what God had in mind.
Yeah.
That based on how he created us, and the three of us are Christians, we know. Actually, when I did psychology and I understood the mind of God, I understood scripture. I understood the invisible bullets on scripture.
Yeah.
You see? Those invisible bullets, for instance, when God said, I hate divorce, he knew the devastating effects of divorce.
Definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
So we can be creative, we can do that, it can be inevitable, but he knew. And so many, when he said, do not commit adultery, he knew
Yes, of course.
the devastating effects of adultery.
Yeah.
We don't have bullet points, but they are invisible bullet points.
Invisible.
Now, going back to this, I liked some that you mentioned, how people cope, how they go out and they get the crown and sijui what. Now, let me tell you.
Place it on a different
Place
head.
it on a different head.
Oh, dear Lord.
Because they have been made kings there.
You see, and I'll come in from a standpoint of therapy and psychology. In managing stress, Rachel mentioned here that we always have to remind ourselves that our happiness is embedded in our ability to solve problems.
Yeah.
Life is problematic, life is stressful, but you don't solve a problem by creating 10 more. Now, for instance, if you're having challenges in your marriage, and you really feel this is not working, your wife is disrespecting you, and all that. That is possibly true, but what is happening there and how are you solving it? How are you solving it? Now, when you run and pick another partner, you're going to, we call it negative coping. Yeah, it's negative coping.
Yeah.
Because you're simply relieving stress, but you're not solving
the
it.
problem.
You're
You're
not
taking a
solving
painkiller, but not medicine that
That's
cures.
the thing.
Yeah.
Because in therapy, when we are supporting people, some make decisions to leave relationships. But you can't be in this relationship here, they've treated me this, now here, then we go here. Because the thing is, interestingly, Sam and Rachel, in marital relationships, there is always your contribution.
Yes.
There
Takes
is
two to tango.
always your contribution. So whenever there is a problem, someone can disrespect you. But when we are doing therapy, we always try to find out, well, how are you behaving? Because there are some people who also don't earn respect. Or they don't know how to ask for their respect.
And there is a huge conversation around that, the issue of earning it.
You see?
I was at a place here at a hotel nearby during the second Women in Business and Finance conference. I was the only man on the panel. Room had 200 wives. The question was, in a marriage arrangement, do you earn my love as your husband, or because you are my wife, I should love you? Do I earn your respect as my wife, or because I am your husband, you respect me no matter what? So there is a huge conversation
There is
around
a huge conversation, but you see, there is a respect given, offered, unconditional, important, absolutely.
And the one
but it has to be sustained.
Exactly.
You can do things that make you lose respect.
Absolutely.
In marriage.
Yes.
You can do dumb things. We all do dumb things. You can do dumb things that make you lose respect. 100%.
Yeah.
Or you may not be able, we've had a session here, Rachel, where we've talked about needs in marriage.
Yes.
There are people who don't know how to communicate their needs.
That's true.
Yeah.
There are those who do not know how to communicate their boundaries. And they say, okay, I know you're angry, but don't talk to me like that. Very important. Now, what happens? If you're not able to solve a problem that way, running to pick someone who you think is going to respect you or going to put that is going to be dangerous. Like, how many people are you going to pick? Now, supposing that is repeated in this other new relationship,
move on to the next.
you see, we can't do that.
That's what I call serial polygamy.
Exactly, because you see, that is impairing. It's impairing. In fact, I'll tell you, for instance, I know men have been mistreated. That is a fact. There are some men you look at in marriage and you really feel sorry for, right?
Did you see the video last week in Western Uganda? They carried out a research. And,
I saw that.
40% of women beat their husband.
Oh, yeah, I saw
dear.
that. Of course, it requires conversation as well. My bishop was engaging me in that and was saying, Dr. Twine, what is happening here? Is it because of the bottle? I said, Bishop, let's not go very quickly because there are several factors.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, men are struggling. Men are mistreated. Men are really, really mistreated in marriage. I know that very well. But then the thing is, what is the solution? Is it to pick one more woman? Come on, you can't do that. You'll be killed.
Maybe it's leaving the marriage altogether.
No, listen, no.
You're looking for solutions.
Yeah, we are looking for
Some I'll
solutions.
tell you. Some I'll tell you. That's why I encourage my brothers to seek help.
Yes.
That's why I say, please reach out, seek help. There are so many things we have talked about here. Men not having basic skills like problem solving, conflict management, like what they do. They say keep quiet, or they run to bars, or they do that. That's a conversation for
One
another
went to a
time.
hotel and stayed there for a month.
You
staying
see
in a
that?
hotel.
All those are negative coping because it doesn't solve the problem. And we can't stand here and say, oh, leave the marriage. We can't, because each person has a story. But the point I was making is that we also can't say, oh, when I'm unhappy, I pick someone, they make me feel good. Please don't make life-changing decisions based on how you feel in the moment.
Let's put it this way.
You see?
Don't make permanent decisions over temporary
Over
situations.
temporary situations.
True.
Because you see, that's how some men have actually found themselves in very hard places. Now, what they forget is that when you leave and pick another woman, you're going to have you're going to go through what we call a relational curve. You see that relational curve where you have this place of extreme happiness, but then now when you get to discovery and you know your partner, and now you move from marketing to management of a relationship, it's going to require a lot of work. So how are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with that? Are you going to deal with that by just now? Are you going to throw this partner away and then pick another one? You can't do that because that's negative coping. So whatever the reason is, we need to have a conversation which helps men to make good decisions that are going to protect them. Secondly,
By the way, why are you only saying men?
Because we are addressing the men. We're addressing the men based on
No, because it is actually the biggest thing.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is the biggest thing. And of course, women, in our language, we say talk to...
Talk to both directly. Talk to both directly.
No, seriously. Whether it is man or woman, of course it is more on the side of men.
Absolutely.
And really sorry for a woman that will sit and pick multiple men. That's chaos. But you see, I was also telling you that I'm so glad that you raised the issue of men suffering. They make a decision. And you mentioned about the justification they give. You see,
it's not the justification. It should just be called an explanation, but it's not the justification.
It's not even
it's just an explanation, but not the justification.
You see, when someone is justifying something, most of the time there is a layer of pain below it, and they can't face it. We call it denial. But whatever it is, I'll guarantee you that all the issues you have brought up, they affect men as well as decision makers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've met men in polygamous relationships absolutely stuck.
Yeah.
They cannot erase the story. They cannot erase the reality. And I've met some who say, well, I'm here, I don't know what to
nothing I
do.
can
do.
I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with such an issue right now.
100%. And
Yesterday.
let me tell you, that's why we are having this conversation, that whoever hasn't gone there, don't try it at home.
Don't try
Don't
this
try
at home.
this at home,
Yeah.
because it's not very easy.
Yeah.
It may seem like culture, it's acceptable. It may seem, now, for instance, I've always spoken to my Muslim brothers.
Yes.
And I say, okay, but they've set you up, they've given you permission
They've
to
set
go
you up.
after
They
at
really
least
have.
4.
Yeah.
at least or at most
Yeah.
4. And do you know what you're signing up for? You talked about relationship management issues. Now, I'll tell you once again, as a wellness expert, our happiness in life is drawn from the fewer management issues we have.
That's true. Yeah.
If you have fewer management issues, you have one husband to deal with. It's enough work.
Yeah.
If you want to add
Those who are
another one,
producing fewer children now, you've given them a reason to.
you see that? No, that's
different.
Going there. But I want to tell you, we just need, you see, people need to get on this balance thing and say, okay, I get some fleeting happiness having someone, but then on the loss account, what am I having?
Yeah.
Now, the mental health issues you have mentioned,
Yes.
they are real.
They are
because
real.
anxiety is not only in women. Once there is anxiety in one person, in the same emotional ecosystem, it's going to go to everyone else. It goes to children, it goes to the husband.
Of course.
You see? Absolutely. Interestingly, talking, Rachel, about the effects of polygamy, polygamy on marriage, on even mental health, we are saying that there is low marital satisfaction.
Yes.
Imagine low marital satisfaction and even sexually.
Yes.
So what are we looking at here?
What are we
because
doing
we
then?
pick another partner to say, oh, I need to have this, I need to feel good when I'm doing this. That's fleeting.
You're changing from what to
That
what?
is
That's
confusion.
the question some
That's
pastors ask.
absolute
Fan to the
confusion.
fire.
Now, why is there low marital satisfaction? When you have no satisfaction here, you have no satisfaction here. You go here, there's no satisfaction. You're going to be frustrated.
Of course.
You see? And yet, you cannot erase the narrative or the issue. But let me also talk about the parenting.
Yeah, let's talk about the children.
Yeah, let's talk about
Let's
the
talk
children.
about the children.
It's
I've
more than
seen
you can
people
imagine.
parent 19 children. Oh, this guy. And by the way, sometimes we laugh about it. It is real. The parenting gaps
Yes.
in polygamous marriages. First of all, remember you're dealing with anxious, insecure,
Children.
depressed
Yeah.
wives,
Yes.
Oh, yes.
mothers.
Yes.
That's a fact. Because every day, it's like people are waking up to go on parade. You know, there's no time when people are settled.
We are at
Relax.
war. yes.
Every day you have
not
so
relaxing.
much, like
You
the
can't
scope
relax.
of work is
Yes.
so big.
a
And
lot.
this is real. It's not even a funny moment.
Yeah.
Because every day they are engaged. They are ever hyper alert. What do I do here? I remember my friend who grew up in a polygamous family. He made a statement. He said, in a polygamous family, you can never be on the same page.
Yeah. It's difficult.
If one group is celebrating and celebrating,
Genuinely.
another group is mourning or grieving over the same point of celebration.
Wow. Yes.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow. You can't be on the same page. I said we were always on alert. You know, this one. That's why you hear a lot of witchcraft, this and that and that. Because people can't, the
I don't know
jealousy
why,
you talked
why
about.
I missed that effect. It
witchcraft,
should be on the
yes.
list of the
100%,
effects.
that's the thing.
Witchcraft usually finds its way in many
Somehow
polygamous
it
families.
comes
Because
in.
of jealousy.
Because
Yes,
jealous. Now, again, as a behavior scientist, I need to help people know that our behavior, every behavior, small or big, triggers a response in
Yeah.
emotions.
Yeah.
Now, those emotions triggered, we have to check, are these positive or
Or
negative?
negative. Yeah.
Now, for instance, if you take on to polygamy, it's a behavior. But what kind of emotional environment are you going to have in your home?
Yeah.
Have you thought about it? Now, for instance, I've met some brothers who will say, my wife is just too jealous. And I always ask them, supposing you were the one, would you be at peace? Would you think you would have done a better job? Now, we need to know that whatever I do is going to provoke a response
Yeah.
of sorts.
In fact, the reaction,
How
not even
will
the
it look
response.
like? Yeah, that's how will it
Reaction.
look like. Now, the jealousies, the envy, the confusion, the chaos, the fights, the hate, the anger. I've seen children who are angry. Now, among us children, we get a spirit of disappointment in the parents, especially in the dad. They go like, why did they have to pick this? Why did they have to get us into this? You know, and it is real.
You're talking with a recovered bitter child.
Yes.
Oh,
no, most of them
really?
don't recover.
That's why I wrote this book more about
That's-
writing from my personal
Your experience.
the recovery I got out of bitterness that came from that polygamous environment.
Yes.
It was deep.
Now, and so I always get people say, but you know, and don't we have depressed people in monogamous families? Yes,
Oh, yeah,
they
they're
are.
there.
Yes,
But
of
I want
course.
to tell you, research is even showing us that there are increasing psychological problems in polygamous families.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And all these issues we have talked about are real.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the emotional turmoil that you have to deal with on
Yes.
a daily as a
Emotional
man.
confusion.
The confusion. And I've heard men say, you know, I can love them the same. And I say, whoa, wow, you must be a Superman.
That's
Superman.
magic.
Like,
That's
you must be a Superman to do that. You're not going to,
Yeah.
probably you're not going to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. So it's very hard. And again, I've engaged my Muslim brothers and I've been asking them, how does loving them the same look like? Like, break it down for
Loving
yourself.
different women the
Yes.
same.
How
Yeah.
do you love 4 wives the same? How? And will they even understand it? What are you going to do? Turns out that most of them think by distributing like money the
The
same.
same financial
It's not in
resources.
material.
It's
It's
not.
not in
These
the
are heart
material.
issues.
And these
Yeah.
are heart issues. How are you going to do that? How are you going to pull it off? Really? You must be a Superman.
You
to
absolutely
do that.
must be. I think for me, the concern with the children
Yes.
is the possibility of repeating the same cycle.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Being polygamous themselves. And I mean, we bless God for the way you turned out, but not everybody turns out like
Yeah.
that. Some people's brains are wired to think that this is the norm. And if I'm ever to settle down as a family person, that I should have other wives. So that's
It's
for
not
the boys.
actually, Rachel, it's
Yeah.
not even about a brain being wired. You see, we've done parenting sessions here, and I've told you that monkey see, monkey do.
Exactly.
And there is a trust that children have in parents.
parents.
So if daddy makes a decision, then it must be
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Now, what happens is that children who grow up in such environments, you'll have those that will hate it and will never do it, the Psalms
Yeah.
of this world.
Yeah.
But then you'll have those that think it is permissible
It will be their
because
justification.
a justification,
Repeat
even when they know it's wrong.
Yeah.
Remember where I started?
Yeah.
Feeding our selfish nature.
Yes.
So if you have that as a justification, you'll go after it. But I want to tell you, especially parenting, people never think about parenting. We all run about, oh, I can have as many children as I can. But are you sure you're going to take care of them? The take care of them that people focus on is that
money.
I can pay fees for them.
fees,
It's
yeah.
short-sighted.
You talked about economic factors like the financial burden that men have. But I want to tell you, it's not only that. It is what are you teaching the children?
Yeah.
It is when you have time. If you have 19 children, honestly, like how are you going to pull that parenting thing off?
Becomes an uphill task.
It's an uphill,
Yeah.
and that's why they abandon them. They say every mother should raise their children. You
yes.
see?
Yes.
And so it becomes a problem. But also, what kind of example are you showing? So there are so many factors that we are looking at. By the way, I also, when I was preparing for this, I saw the disease burden But there is research, increasing research is showing that there are higher risk of psychological related diseases or stress related diseases.
It's not surprising. It's not surprising at all.
Imagine
Yeah.
imagine
Yeah.
the emotional environment in these families. So does it surprise you that disease burden is high? The high blood pressures,
Yes,
the high
diabetes.
the diabetes,
Depression.
the depression, so much disease burden in this. So now I would pause to ask, so what is the benefit?
What is? I mean, like Samuel said, it's temporary.
It's
And it's
fleeting.
fleeting.
Rachel
Yeah.
and Evas, allow me speak from my experience concerning the impact on the child.
Yeah.
I think we need to give it,
Sometime.
yes, we need to give it more airtime right now. This is what I saw. This is what I experienced. The only boy, 5 girls.
Okay.
My younger brother died. So you have Alan, you have Doreen, you have Naomi, you have myself, you have Patience, and Isaac Pastor. One is emotional confusion in the life of the children. I saw that firsthand due to, complex family dynamics and relationships. Complex.
Yeah.
At some point, here you are told don't go there. Here you are told don't go there.
Don't talk to
with
so and
the other
so,
one. One time I made a blunder innocently as a child.
And you talked to the person they said you shouldn't talk
I actually talked to his wife, thinking now I'm not talking to him.
Oh my goodness.
You know, the innocence of a child.
Yes,
They say, no,
yes.
don't go and eat in that other home. They are related with this one. The way they can say, don't go in
talk to
James's, let me use the word
strangers,
name James. Don't go to James's home and even eat there. Now for me, I see when James is not there, I go to Anna, his wife.
That should
And
be
then,
okay.
And then I say, by the way, Mom was saying that I don't go to James's home to eat from there. What is the problem between my mom and James? And I'm talking to James's wife.
We kill their
That happened to me.
innocence.
Yes.
That happened to me.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
yes. So emotional confusion. But the second thing is the favoritism issues. Issues around favoritism. Because as a child, you start to perceive an equal treatment, even if it's not there.
Yeah.
You see, one has been bought for your
the other.
stepsister.
Yes, it's
you
hypervigilance.
feel like that one is better than what I was given. So there is favoritism issues. There is insecurity. You are exposed to conflict. You are exposed to tension between parents, and this can impact on your emotional well-being as a child.
That's true.
There is also struggle to form meaningful relationships in monogamous environments. You struggle because you came from this environment where you were looking at somebody balancing things here, this woman, that woman.
Yeah.
So somehow it is in your subconscious and you have to do a lot to deprogram
Yes,
yourself.
yes,
Some
yes.
people don't
It's called
succeed at it.
desensitizing
Yeah.
yourself.
They don't
Yeah.
succeed at desensitizing themselves
Yeah.
from an environment they were in for 20 years, for 10 years, for 15 years, and so on and so forth. Then for many others, there is societal stigma against somebody from a polygamous background. To the extent that some are even given names that are so uncomfortable. You are called a bastard.
Oh, like they didn't
Because
plan
you were,
for you.
you
kind
were
of
born from
fluked.
this other woman. This one was the official for you. You are now called them. You know, that social stigma.
Yeah.
All this is coming from the polygamous arrangement.
It stays with any child. Can stay with you for life.
You see,
Yeah.
until you clarify your divine identity in life, you will carry these wrong identities
You're
in life.
brave. Yeah, that's true.
Which very few people have the opportunity
Oh
to
yes.
have.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, there is also the effect of growing up with bitterness due to jealousy and rivalry. And this one affected me tremendously. I grew up as a very bitter young man. I had a small list of 5 people that I wanted to kill when I
Oh
grew
my
up. I've shared
gosh.
this in many places as a testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've heard another person share something similar.
Okay.
Reverend
Yeah,
Birunjibia used to-
Yes, I've heard
Yeah.
his testimony too. Many people have heard that kind of a thing. In other words, that tells you if you do not develop suicidal tendencies because of the frustrations you are having as a child, you develop murderous tendencies
to other people.
who
caused you pain.
So those that you see that could have been a source of your challenge, I had 5 people on my list.
That's a
and I
real
was
thing.
saying, the only thing that is stopping me from executing this is that I'm still tiny, I'm a little boy, I don't have energy, so let me first grow up. That was my agenda was to join the army. My motivation was to have access to a gun, period. Thank Christ who saved my life.
You see that?
And those 5 people are still alive. I don't think they would still be alive. So let's not romance these things. People who are romancing polygamous arrangements,
You see,
it's not something
it's
to romance.
not. It's
I'm
not.
in shock.
I will tell
And
you.
besides that thing of the bitterness, there is also the impact of emotionally and psychologically feeling unseen as a child and feeling unheard due to multiple relationships.
100%.
You feel unseen, you feel unheard, you have been denied a role model marriage at home. You even have a higher likelihood of abusing drugs later in
Absolutely.
response to family stress,
Yeah.
and you end up with challenges with trust in future romantic relationships. So let's not romanticize
We are
polygamy.
romanticizing
On
it.
this,
We
now
are-
I'm speaking from the side of the child.
Yes.
Because I've not been polygamous, I may not know how it feels for the man
As
who
a
is polygamous.
husband, or-
As a
yeah,
husband,
yeah.
I am not a wife to know how it feels to the woman, but I am a
child, a
yes,
product.
a product. I was a child
And
in the
you have
polygamous arrangement.
seen it.
First
And
hand.
what you
One,
have
one.
seen. Look, you see, I've had, and I'm so glad, Sam, you mentioned it. I've heard and seen men, especially, who write and say, it's on different WhatsApp forums. Someone say, me, I'll tell you, and they're bringing up an argument. You people, men were created to be polygamous. We were not created to be. And I'm saying, man, do you know what you're talking about?
Why didn't God give Adam, Eve, and Sharon?
That's what I said.
When they said they were created, who created
Who
them?
created
Eve
them?
and Sharon.
And the creator
The
said,
prototype we have in Genesis shows us a one man and one woman.
because and this was for our protection. Now,
Oh, my
Rachel, if you
word.
allow me, I'll say one thing. One of the other things, by the way, we have seen, we've talked about reasons why men get polygamous. Do you know one of the reasons is low self-esteem?
Yes.
Low self-esteem. Low self-esteem is that you do not put a whole value on yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And you're not self-confident.
Yeah.
And whenever we have low self-esteem, we are desperate for things that can honestly push our profile up and make us feel better. Now, it's interesting that actually most men who go for that, they have low self-esteem. They
In
are saying,
psychology, isn't it what they call compensatory behavior?
It's compensatory
Whenever you
behavior.
perceive that you lack something,
Then you
go
go
to the
for
extreme
more.
to look like you have
You
it.
have it.
100%.
You are compensating psychologically.
Exactly. So that's what happens. So whoever is glamorizing it probably needs to do a
check
Nina.
themselves,
Yes,
yeah.
a Nina check.
Yeah.
And it's possible that you're not feeling too good about yourself and you're desperate for something that could make you feel better. That doesn't look good.
No, it
So you
doesn't.
need to, instead of picking another wife to show that you can win women and have up to 10 who have had some men say, you'd rather spend time
Taking care of yourself.
taking care of yourself and boosting your self-esteem in a healthy way.
Yeah.
In a healthy way. Lastly, Rachel, for me, I also wanted to to say something about once again about children. Whenever we are making a choice as parents, we have to know that it's not about you. It's not about you. Now, whenever some of these decisions are being made, people say, I deserve better, I did me.
That one is now the common
I deserve better.
You see that? But you see, when you're doing
me
that,
religion.
you have to assess, the act of wisdom is such that you assess how many
Holistically.
people are going to be affected by your decision.
Yeah.
Now, I want to tell you, as Sam was mentioning, after people have made this decision, yes, you can sleep in another home. They can give you katunda and feel better. You can.
Because they are competing for you.
You understand? Yeah, women can compete for you.
Oh,
But
Lord.
what benefits to the children?
Yeah.
So the question is, who does this benefit? Who does it benefit? And if you find that the decision you make is actually benefiting you alone,
Then you need to think
then
again.
you need to rethink.
Yeah,
Because this is important.
Yeah.
Lastly, for me, Rachel, again, based on all the conversations we have had, and after I've said this, I'll keep quiet.
I doubt it, but
I
carry on.
keep quiet. I
am sorry, I
guarantee
don't
you.
believe it.
Yes, I don't
Now,
Let's
we
wait and
have
see.
talked about the effects, the negative effects. You could have some little benefit here and there, but the negative effects are way too much, especially on the women that you have. And you're going to suffer with this because whether women or men, really, but today we're talking about polygamy for men, not polyandry for women. Honestly, I also know women have gone a certain direction.
Yeah.
But the thing is, assess what this is benefiting you or causing you on the negative. Now, we have looked at all this low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, all that and all that. The package delivered doesn't look good on whoever makes this decision.
This marketing is not
It is not nice with all the women and female hormone just spread around, but also most painfully the effect that it's having on the next generation. Because why I'm emphasizing this, Rachel, I pain for the next generation. I don't know how many people really sit and say, in the next 10, 20 years, what kind of husbands and children and workers and leaders are we going to have?
Yeah.
Because if this polygamous family, and we are not passing judgment on any, but looks like from what we have discussed, looks like a breeding ground. It's like
breeding ground
for pain, for confusion, for stress, for depression, and this is real. It's even proved by research with increased low self-esteem, disease, and all. Any person involved in this, are you sure you want to have the next generation, your next generation, looking this way? Have you thought about it? Have you taken time to reflect and say, this decision I'm going to make, how is it going to affect my children? Before you say, oh, let me just do this. Yes, I'm going to scare these women to connect and survive, because you talked about women who are happy. They are not. They have, most likely they have suppressed emotions. So I wanted to say that. So whatever decision you make, are you sure it is great, or it's picking another wife is putting a rope
around your neck.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say
swallowing it.
one more thing.
You have to, because I need you to
have to.
close. I need us to close this conversation, because there might be someone who is watching, a child, a man or a woman in a polygamous situation, and we have painted this very grim picture, which was very much our intention for those who haven't yet made the decision, but for the person who is in this scenario. Coping mechanisms, and this will be your parting shot, each one of you, so we can wrap this up. What do they do? How do you stay sane? How do you keep your head above the water? That is your situation, your family dynamic. Unfortunately, you find that you are in this scenario, whether by consent, I don't think it's really consent, or circumstantial, How do these people cope? How does a mom who is watching give their child a fighting chance? I think that it's possible to redeem the next generation.
100%.
Without suppressing your emotions, finding healing for yourself,
Yeah.
and then, passing that on to your children. So each one of you in a minute and a half, and then we'll wrap this up.
So before you give your children a fighting chance, I would like you to first give your marriage a fighting chance.
Your polygamous marriage?
Your marriage.
Okay, I'm listening.
Your marriage.
Your marriage. Okay.
And I'm talking from the side of the woman now. Like we have said at the beginning, this is a complex issue we are dealing with. I remember this man in southwestern Uganda who was in a polygamous marriage.
Situation,
Yes, and he becomes born again and gives his life to Christ, and he gets a clear directive from the God he accepted to appreciate the women for being in his life for this long, and now
Release
them to go away now and be free and remain with one who was called Juliet. The whole story was interesting.
Okay.
And for him, it was even after death, and he came back from the grave on the very day of burial. It's a very horrific, like horror story.
Okay.
And he kicked the
casket.
coffin, the casket, and when he brought out the head, he said, "Juliet, where are you?" He immediately mentioned one of the wives.
Oh my goodness.
For some people who are watching me may know him. Let me mention the name because he has shared this story. He's called Mariro. He's a man called Mariro from Rukunje.
Oh, he's Ugandan.
Oh yes.
Yeah, I was thinking it's like Mexico or somewhere.
What I would say in response to your question is that from a mental health perspective, I would like the people out there to adopt healthier alternatives to managing and coping with marital dissatisfaction or cultural expectations that usually lead to polygamy.
Okay.
For example, if you are in a monogamous relationship right now and you are having these pressures that are giving you the idea of the polygamous
Situation.
possibility, I would like you to think of things like having more couple time with a marriage therapist so that you are able to cope with what you are trying to process now before you get into the other side of the coin. Also have open dialogue about your desires, open dialogue about your needs, open dialogue about your expectations with this wife you have, with this husband you have. In addition, active listening is going to be very helpful in your relationship. Active listening to each other's perspectives and feelings, because one thing that has pushed some people into polygamous relationships is that at home they only have a talking mouth. They have never been blessed with a listening ear. And as much as we are saying it's not a justification, it is an explanation. And we can't dismiss explanations. Also, for me, let me speak to you, my brother who is out there. Can you start to date your wife afresh before you find yourself in all these tumultuous situations with other women? Let's get into a habit of regular date nights to reignite connection. Have an involvement in sensual activities with your own wife, with your own husband, to foster emotional and physical closeness through those kinds of activities. If you need individual therapy, there are people like Dr. Ivas and other therapists. Go for individual therapy so that you are helped to process these things. Do self-care practices to keep you emotionally grounded. And if for you are already now at the center of the chaos we've talked about, you're already in the polygamous arrangement. Let me try to categorize it. If you are in that polygamous arrangement, but your one wife is the official and others you are going under the table, behind the walls and so on and so forth, I invite you to leave them as soon as today. Immediately, leave them, come and get back to your wife and cling onto her before things get totally out of hand. If for you it is an official polygamous arrangement, everybody knows you have 3 wives, it's going to be quite tricky. I will invite you to the Lord Jesus Christ. And once you accept him as your Lord and Savior, I trust him. He will guide you by his Holy Spirit on your next step of action.
Thank you, Sam. Yes. Were you serious you were done? I need you to give us your parting shot.
No, Sam has said it, but I think just to reiterate the fact that whoever thinks that being polygamous is going to help, just to know what you're signing up for. It's not easy, and in relational science, we always support people to have mental preparation for what they are getting into. If you're prepared for it, well, try it, but it's not easy. So don't go in with a false perception of it being glamorous. Now you have people fighting, but that's not where it stops. It's big. Secondly, for those that are already in rich, and I'm glad you have asked that we talk about it, because if we paint this picture and then people are already in it, it feels like leaving people with open wounds. Look, relationships is about management, and it's about acceptance of the situation you're in. Anything you can't change, You just have to change yourself in terms of how you manage it and change your perspective. Now, it doesn't mean that if people got intentional about overcoming some of the challenges we have talked about, they cannot be better, although it's going to take a lot of work. So a man that is already in an official polygamous relationship, don't live in denial thinking the women you are married to are crazy. That's what it is. As I said, the behavior that we adopt is going to determine the response. So those responses, if you position yourself well, you can try and manage the relationship and God knows how, but you can. You can actually try to be fair. You can be more sensitive to how people are feeling, validate their feelings, and be a great human being in the midst of this chaos. But let me talk to children. Because children find themselves in this situation. They didn't sign up for it. They only found themselves in there. If you find yourself in there, whenever we are doing counseling, we tell children, that's not your decision. It's not your decision. So don't try to make it right. That's not your decision. What you can do is to make sure that you're able to deal with the circumstances that are created within. You can actually choose to be a good, peaceful person in the midst of this kind of situation. You can be a candle in that kind of environment. And you can try to live right, because you see, they can set you up to hate. But hating is going to be your choice. You see? If they set you up, they say, don't greet that person, those ones, that one is a witch, or that one hates you. Don't just pick this, suck this in and say, that's because mommy said, that's true, because daddy doesn't say, it's always mommy. But mommy said, that doesn't mean it. But you can make a decision to love, where you're being told to hate. You see, you can choose not to be depressed, because you see, depression comes from unanswered questions about the situation. Why did daddy do this? Why are we not in a normal way? Why would we have, so why all this crowd? But if things you cannot solve, don't invest emotional energy to it. So you can choose to do. But key thing, Rachel, is that people there can make a decision to live in peace. Because if the environment is already created, don't try to undo it in the mind, and then it is real. Live in the reality and try to be a good human within that reality.
That makes a lot of sense. Be a good human being overall.
Allow me to add something in just less than a minute concerning what she has talked about on the side of the children. Just add something there. That indeed, as a child who is in that polygamous environment, choose to remain a clean human being emotionally. Choose. Don't fight battles that are not yours, because that is what usually happens. Fighting battles that are not yours. Choose to stay emotionally hygienic to the best of your ability. Love all human beings. Love your stepmother, love your stepsisters, stepbrothers, and so on and so forth. And that takes maturity. I pray that God will help you as a child in that relationship to have access to maturity quicker than later. Because I'm glad that that's now my reality today, as somebody who was born in a polygamous environment, polygamous family, that I love my stepmother, and I have all the evidences to show for it. I love my stepsisters, and I have all the evidence to show for it. And in my heart of hearts, I really love them. I want to see them get better in life at every moment, because I decided that was not my battle. That was my father and his wife.
See that?
That was my father and his wife. So for me as a child, I need to ensure that I am in a good place, at a good place with my steps, whether it's stepmom, stepbrother, stepsisters, and so on and so forth. So it's important that the children make a decision.
It is important. I think also it's important to note that there might have been a lot of darkness in some of these scenarios, and for some people, just even being cordial with your step siblings might be enough. Like maybe there's not too much room for us to repair the relationship. And I mean, I don't hate you because I feel like forgiveness is a heart thing. It's a heart matter.
It is a heart matter.
Yeah. Once
It's a
that-
decision.
It's a decision.
Yes, you
make.
activate it.
You activate it.
Yes.
So I may not come to your house bearing gifts and flowers,
Of course.
but
Of course.
we are okay. We are cool, you know.
But in
and
case you can deliver the flowers, have the
it's-
courage.
it's
Have the
also-
courage.
It's I'm
Recently, I
trying
delivered electricity.
to your step.
Oh, my friend.
Eh?
So if you can deliver the flower, deliver it.
Go ahead and deliver. I'm
Yes.
just saying
Go
that
all the way.
there are certain scenarios where
Basics.
for some people, I mean, common human decency, like we were saying, just be a good human being, help where you can, and you know, if you need to be cordial, be cordial. There are some people who are like, oh, if I met this person on the street, I might.
Kill them.
Yeah, I mean, now
Then
there you
you've
still
not,
have,
you've not
you
yet
haven't
moved
really
on. You
moved
still
on.
have a lot of bitterness.
Clearly. We can go on and on with this conversation. For me, it has been very revelatory. I mean, I always knew polygamous situations are problematic. I just didn't know the extent. And so just thank you very much, Sam,
You're
for
welcome, Rachel.
even lending us your experience from, you know, growing up. And Dr. Avas, of course, always putting a psychological spin to it and showing us and sharing with us the science behind why we behave the way we do.
The science
And-
behind the art.
Exactly. Exactly. Leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you if you find yourself in a scenario like this. And maybe you need help to move on. You need help to forgive your step siblings. Maybe you have that list that
Yes.
Sam has talked about
Yeah.
of people you want to revenge.
You need to forgive
You
and
need
release
to,
them.
yeah, and there's help. There's help available, like we always say. Dr. Avas is just a call away.
Yeah.
Please reach out and get the help that you need. Until next week, stay well, stay healthy. Bye-bye.